came back to news that new for us? Oh my God, you shouldn't have. No, I'm not putting that in. I'm not putting that in. If you haven't heard about the newest Pokemon game, you're not missing out much, because the community has already found a way to almost break the game. The Pokemon community has found a way to clone rare and shiny Pokemon, basically making their rarity pointless. This most recent release in the popular series has introduced a whole lot of glitches that many players have found themselves encountering and reporting on various social media websites. So while soy boys heard around the world squealing delight at the idea of a new Pokemon game, it's hard to ignore how buggy it is. So much so that Nintendo themselves are actually issuing refunds for the digital version of the game because it doesn't meet those AAA standards expected from a publisher who has put out nothing but buggy messes for the last 10 games. Shocker. I honestly don't understand why people keep on coming back to something so disappointing and continuing to find ways to defend it. But then again, the writer of this script owns an iPhone, so I'll just leave it at that. He probably plays FIFA too. Speaking of FIFA, Lionel Messi, famed soccer superstar, is having a tough time coming to terms with the recent loss between his home team, Argentina, and Saudi Arabia. In fact, this loss comes as a shock to the industry and fans as a whole, as Messi, who is 35, recently announced that this would be his last World Cup, his last opportunity to potentially win a World Cup with his home team. While Messi has always been the GOAT anytime he played with the European team Barcelona, he has historically had trouble when it came down to playing for his home country, something that Argentinian fans often criticize about the player. Situation just gets a little messy.
What the hell?
The 2-1 loss for Argentina doesn't bode well for how they made fare throughout the rest of the tournament, but hopefully Messi can get his groove back and start hitting some balls like he's never hit balls into nets before. We play a lot of sports here in the office if you can't tell. Trump's taxes, guys! We're talking about the orange man named
Blump.
I can't. Blump? Blump's taxes. So finally, the Supreme Court has officially cleared the way for a Democratic-controlled congressional committee to view the ex-president Donald Joseph R. Biden Trump's tax forms, mystical forms that for years were kept from the public eye. The reason? We may know very soon, as this all comes years after prying, and not to mention crying, from the Democratic Party, dating all the way back to his presidency, where he refused to release the forms, where usually all presidents do, out of tradition, not out of law. This massive game that Trump has been playing with the Supreme Court almost got him off the case, if it only had run another month. In a twist, however, the Supreme Court has finally authorized the release of these files from the Treasury Department to provide the necessary documents to the Ways and Means Committee. Maybe we can finally see what exactly Trump has been doing all those years in the White House. Maybe planning a revival of Trump's steaks? I wish.
You know those steaks came from Sharper Image, of all companies?
Wait,
We partnered with
Sharper Image to make steaks.
To make steaks.
Sharper
From
Image
steaks.
made steaks?
Yeah, I asked that same question too.
Interesting. I would eat steaks from Sharper Image. What the heck?
Delicious.
If you've been keeping up with us lately, you've surely heard about Kim. No, not Kardashian, because frankly our writer doesn't care about her or her sisters, but instead are talking about a different sister who just so happens to be named Kim. Kim Jong, sister of the leader of North Korea, put out a statement yesterday saying the United States would face a more fatal security crisis, pushing for UN condemnation of what her brother's been cooking up for the past few weeks, up in the ballistic missiles kitchen of his. A lot of recent escalation comes after a recent ballistic missile test from North Korea that had triggered an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, where 14 countries agreed that what Kim was doing, Jong-un, was no good, and supported action to limit North Korea's advancement of its weapons programs. President Volodymyr Zelensky has put out a statement saying that Ukraine is preparing a network of aid stations where Ukrainian citizens can go in the event of another Russian air assault that could lead to a blackout. With continued attacks from Russia on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, it is in President Zelensky's best interest to make sure his citizens can endure the potential mass blackouts that have been caused by the war. Further escalating issues, Russia
suggested cutting
gas flow to the rest of Europe this upcoming week, which could deal a major blow to not only Ukraine's energy infrastructure, but to Europe's as a whole. Thanks, Putin. Just like you'll be giving thanks this week when you celebrate Thanksgiving with your friends, family, dog, Uncle Nick Cannon, and the like and subscribe button down below. Oh, and don't forget that weird Aunt Janet who always smells like garlic. Well, we'll see you on the next one.